Hi everyone, you're with Rick and Maureen for session number 3 of our 50-foot queen post truss covered bridge, the build along. We're going to take you today and try and finish off the queen post bridge end of it so that the bridge will be complete. I hope you did your homework so that you're staying up with us.
Okay, all right, we're gonna put the sides of this bridge on here, but before we do that, just to make sure that you did your homework, make sure that those ties that might be overhanging the stringers are filed, especially at the very end where your side member is going to be, and also just above your cord there where the vertical post will be, make sure that they're flush with the stringers.
The reason for doing that is that when you put the angles on the side, if those ties are sticking out even the littlest bit, it's going to deflect the wall out from being plumb.
Yeah, so I think that's pretty good. Got it filed pretty good. So the first thing we're going to do, I've got the one side done because I had to have it set up pretty well to work on to show you a few things. But the first thing you need to do is find your 6x10s, and what you're going to do is we're going to build this component right here. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this right on the drawing, and I've got this one cut already on that angle, and you can see some cutting lines there, which is really helpful when you're cutting these angles. You see that line there, and it follows through here, so just line up your razor saw on that line and cut through your wood like that, so you know you've got the perfect angle. Alright, and then you follow down, and the next place you're going to cut is right along the bottom of the stringer. So line up your razor saw along the bottom of that stringer, and looking down, cut through there. I'm just going to transfer it to my cutting mat to get through the bottom of it.
One of the neat things you'll find in framing a house or any building, when you cut an angle like that, the opposite angle can be used somewhere else. Like for example, the angle that Maureen just cut,
Yep.
the big angle,
Yep.
can be used over here. That's exactly the same angle as right there. And the same with the top ones. As soon as you cut that angle, the piece that you cut off will be exactly the same angle. So if you go through a series of cut the angle, flip it, cut the angle, flip it, you'll have it all done without a lot of waste.
So I don't have to cut that one like Rich said, but I'm going to do the top one, and again put my razor saw along that cutting line and cut through. And again I'm going to transfer it to the cutting mat to get through the bottom. Okay?
Okay, now bring that other piece up, please. No, the one you just cut off.
Yep.
So the one you just cut off from that, if you turn it upside down, that's the right angle for right there.
Okay, and you can use the if you've got the Ultimation slicer and sander, you can use that as well. I'm just doing it here on the drawing because I know maybe a lot of people don't have those tools. So those are cut perfect. And again, I'll take that one angle that's already cut, and you can see how well that mates together. And I'm going to use that cutting line again, and
Sometimes we get asked, what makes a truss bridge a truss? Well, the vertical members here, they're called the vertical posts. That's what makes it a truss. If you know just basic engineering, a triangle is actually the strongest frame member you can get. So that's why this is a whole series of triangles. It makes it extremely rigid. The whole engineering processes that are in here are tension and compression. So if you just picture a train going across that bridge, it's going to belly out a little bit. It doesn't matter how big a locomotive, it's going to belly out. But when you put the truss in and the diagonals in, it keeps the whole assembly rigid, so that if a big locomotive goes over there, it doesn't, not even a fraction of an inch does it deflect.
So,
That's the point about doing everything in triangles.
so what you need to do, I don't know if you saw what I did there, I put a little dab of glue on each end of that, that member, and glued it at the top here, those two joints. So what you would want to do is put a couple weights on there. That one's not so good, it's too big. Something like this, whatever you can find, and let that assembly set up before you move to the next step. Okay, and what we're going to do is, once that's dry, is take it off and just attach it here on the shims and the two cords in the center. And you can see I've done that on this side, the one that's already set up. It's glued to the shims.
Secret there is to use your square and make sure that that frame structure is plumb to the bridge.
But for the interest of time, I'm not going to be able to let that set up to show you how to do this. So what I'm going to do is we're going to try our best here. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the two end shims, like that. A little bit on the side wall of the stringer. And we're going to attach it. This certainly isn't glued up enough, but we're going to try this to see what happens. Okay, so yeah, it's not going to stay, but it's okay. We'll figure this out. So join it on the shim,
Want me to hold it?
on each end, sure, like that. Okay, and then get yourself
If you let it set up, you don't really need four hands.
No. Get yourself a couple little clamps and make sure you clamp it at the top, those two joints, like that. Okay, I think,
Make sure everything is plumb.
yeah, you have to kind of look at it from the front here. It's kind of crooked. I don't know if you can see that, but I'm just straightening it. Oh. Much better if you wait till it's all dry. Anyway, that's where that goes. Okay. And then what you want to do is cut your vertical posts. They are 6x6s as well. So find
So
your,
this post here is one of the triangles, so it's not going to deflect the bottom from the top.
so lay it on your drawing where you see that vertical post, just underneath the top cord, and just at the end of the stringer, the bottom
Actually
end
cut
of
it
the
just a
stringer.
little bit longer,
Yeah, that's true.
because you have to kind of make it cut and fit and cut.
Yeah, so I'm going to cut it probably a good 1/4 inch or so or more to make sure that that's going to fit. That's where it's going to have to fit in there. And it's a little bit long, so I'm going to have to file. See if you can see that. Here. It's a little bit longer, so I'll have to file and fit. This isn't ready to work with yet, but I'm going to show you on the other side.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Anyway, that's where the vertical post goes. So you can see it's a little bit longer, so I would just file and fit until that fits in there really well. Glue on each end and pop it in there.
So what we're saying
Same
is
on the other side.
use the drawing as a guide, but not as the actual finish length.
So the same with the other vertical post. I'll cut it the same as the other one. It's got to be around the same length.
In theory, it's exactly the same length.
Yeah, it should be, hopefully. But you can see there too, they're just a little tad long. So I would just fit and file of those and then glue them in. And I'll do that later. Then the next step is you're going to do these cross bracing. And there's two methods of doing this. You're going to take your 6x6 and use your drawing again to cut them both out. But there's two ways that they join in the center. One is a lap joint, and the other is to just cut one long brace and then two smaller ones and glue them together at the center. But today we're going to go for this lap joint, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm going to take get a 6x6 that's long enough here. Oops. All right. So what you want to do is lay it on your drawing, and you'll see at the top you're going to take your razor saw and cut on the lower edge of the cord. You're just sort of taking off the corner of that piece of lumber. Okay.
And same thing here, once you make the cut, the piece that's left over is exactly the same cut.
It's kind of hard to show you here without my arm getting in the way. And you want to take off that little corner that's right there. So I'm just going to use, so that you can see, I'm going to try and use my X-Acto knife. There, I just took off the one little corner. Okay, so that is perfect there. And again, this one you want to cut a little bit longer because it's going to be another situation where you want to fit and file. And so I'm going to go, normally you would be cutting at the vertical post line, but I'm going to go here, probably a good ½ inch or so. Okay, so that's extra long. So what you can do is stick this in that space, and you can see I'm a little bit long. So I'm just going to take my pencil, which is here, and I'm just going to draw a line where I think approximately that vertical post would be. It's got to kind of sneak in there and cut that little piece off. And see how that fits.
Now the difference, while we're doing these diagonals, the difference between the king post and the queen post is the king post has one truss rod on each side, or truss assembly, and the queen post has two.
That's
so it's, if you took the king post and elongate it, that's what a queen post is.
Okay, so we've got that one, it's fitting in there nicely. You can see that. We're going to do the other one. And this one, well, this edge should be down here, I guess. It would be the same angle. But I'm going to leave it a little bit long. Okay, so you're going to cut along that vertical side of the post. Got that. And again, I'm just going to, because it's just such a small piece that you're taking off for that other corner, I'm going to use the X-Acto knife. And it's the bottom of that top cord that you're lining up your X-Acto knife with. Okay. So I'll take this one out. Just remember that it's the one that's going that way. And fit this one in. See how it's going. Yeah, so we're a little long. I'm going to take my pencil and just draw a line. It kind of fits snug in against that vertical post. That's what you're aiming for. cut along that line that you made. Okay, let's see how that goes. Looks good, it's perfect.
All right.
Fits in there nicely. Okay, so now we have to do that lap joint. So if you cross these, just try and set them in there. Whoops. This is a little tricky.
Oh, it's only tricky in N scale.
Yeah. So set that there. Have your pencil ready. And set the other one in. What you're trying to do is find the middle, so you can put a little pencil mark there. Whoops. There we go. Take your pencil and mark this side. Whoops. Just where they meet in the center, put a mark on this side of the wood, right in the middle. And on the one beneath it, you can maybe just draw a little outline to mark that. Perfect. Okay, thank you. All right, so I've got the mark in the center, that's where they meet. What I'm going to do is take a very sharp X-Acto knife and I'm going to flip it on its side, because I know I need that little lap joint that you see here, the little piece that's cut out on the diagram. I need that on the opposite side of my mark. So I'm going to approximately go a little bit on either side of my center mark. And dig it out. It helps if you have a really sharp X-Acto knife. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you just have to kind of dig it out very carefully so you don't split it. Sometimes what I do, I'll take the side of my file and just give it a file in the center. And can you see that?
Yep. Good.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the one done. Then on the other one, what we're going to do here, that's going that way. Okay, so we have to cut another little lap out of that other piece. So I'm going to turn it on its side. I know where my little mark is. Dig it out.
Is this what makes it a craftsman kit?
I don't know, I guess so. Okay. So dig that piece out. Give it a little file. Okay. I think it needs a little bit more here.
Out of the two joints that we show you, the lap joint is the strongest, because the other one has a tendency that that the joint could break apart under pressure. So the lap joint is the stronger one, but not. In the prototypes, they didn't always do it that way.
I think that looks pretty good.
Sometimes they just did the two pieces and instead of doing the lap joint, just overlap them and finish it off that way.
So what you're going to do then is glue these in like that. Check and make sure that it's centered for you. Whoops. Don't like to hear whoops.
No, whoops isn't in
There.
a good word.
This one needs a little bit, I was a little bit off on this one, so I'm just going to take a little bit more off there, and that should be fine. Okay, so that should be good. find which way they're going here. Oh, this one, I guess. Okay, there you go. So you just want to put a little bit of glue on each end and glue them in place.
Now our regular Queen Post bridge has got steel rods as the truss rod. But before the steel rods came along, they just used wooden timbers as the truss.
A little bit of glue here. We're almost done. And in the center, of course, where the lap joint is. And again, you can just use your little clamps at the top to set them and let them set there.
Now, any time in this process, you can start to lay the track. It's a lot easier now than it is when the covered part of it is on there. So this way you can get your hands in there. So even before you do the sides, as soon as you have the tie stringer assembly, you can actually put the ties on, or put the rail on. You can do it later, but it's a little hard because you can't get your hand in there to straighten them or adjust them. So this is the stage where you should be putting on your rail, and whatever gauge it is and whatever code that you use.
There you go. So you just have to let this really set up, so you're getting an idea of what it's looking like. It's at this point too that you can go back now and touch up all the cut ends that you have that are showing. So just take your base color that you have used and go along and touch up everything that's bare, raw wood. Go along your tie stringers as well, touch them up. I'm trying not to go over my glue.
This will be a darker shade than the original, and that's good.
That's
because
okay.
the end cuts are usually like that.
Yeah, you don't have to be real particular, just slop it on. I should have my gloves on, but where you did your filing on the ties, you're going to have some raw wood there. And on this end too. And the other good thing to do is you can take the creosote black if you like. Get you that. You want to maybe put down your where you have all the grease and grime and oil from the engines. So stick your brush right into the weathering mix, dab a little bit on your paper towel, and just take it and put it down where maybe the track would be.
And or down the center.
Yeah, if you want it really dark, don't dry brush it, just put it straight on.
Straight on is pretty good because it runs down in between the ties.
I think that's coming up pretty good on
But you gotta remember, trains are greasy, oily, crappy stuff, and they're dirty.
so you can make it as dark as you like. If you've got tie brown at home, that's a great dark color. It's really dark. This will dry a little bit lighter. Go over your NBWs as well. Take a coat of your black and just put it along the NBWs, and it'll just highlight them. Kind of oozes into the crooks and crannies of that NBW.
Remember, this is harder to do later.
Yeah, good time to do it now. And the other thing you can do is, I've got a medium brown here. Just for interest's sake, I'm going to take it and dry brush a little bit on these ties.
Sometimes when we add different colors, it's call it mood coloring, because it depends on what mood Maureen's in, what color she's going to do it.
Because I didn't put my ties into 3 different baths of different colors, I'm just going to go along here and put a little bit of brown on. When you look at rotting wood, a lot of times the rot in the wood is a brownish color. So I kind of want these ties to look like they're a little old and worn.
And you gotta remember that the middle ties are all inside. They probably will never see sunlight. So that means they're more of the original colors. And the ends might be a little bit lighter than the middle.
Now I could take this brown too and put some on the sides of the cross bracing and whatnot. You're not going to see that though. I mean, this is getting a cover on it.
Yeah.
But if you want, that's all you would do, is just dip it in the weathering mix, pat it on a paper towel, and then just add some here and there. Okay.
Should definitely do it around the lap joint, just to
Yeah.
make sure that joint is
Yeah, you can see
the same colors.
I did it a little bit there. You can see it's a little bit darker. You could do it maybe on the inside as well, because if anything, that's the part you're going to see.
A long time
Maybe.
ago, when I was trying to develop a covered bridge, I thought, how much detail do you do inside of a covered bridge? And then a friend of ours used an onboard camera going around his layout, and of course he went through the tunnel and you could see everything just as good as on the outside. So that's why we do the inside really good.
So this is gonna let this set up. You need to let it set up really well, because our next step is going to be putting the walls on. So you want to make sure that that's really dry. This is one of our covered bridges that we did. I did this one in a driftwood as the base color, and I used boxcar brown to add some of the variations in that coloring of wood, and also the creosote black I used to highlight under the eaves and up the bottom of the bridge.
Can you see inside?
Yeah, we're going to try and show you the queen. There you go. I think you can see that. You can see the queen post in there. So that's what it will end up looking like. And I think
Okay, that's
I
just
think
about
that's
the
it.
end of this session.
Yeah.
You know, you can always email, if you have any questions, you can always email us. It's the easiest way to get us. So for homework, you gotta finish this queen post bridge, the bridge part. Because next week we start on the wall assemblies and the roof assemblies. And hey, it's really coming.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll see you next week.